Brigadier General Patrick Choi, thank you so much for agreeing to have the interview with us. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the carbines, the market in India, and what specifically the products that you offer. So, could we just start by telling us the market in India for carbines?
Sure. We have been a company that is in the defense business for more than 40 years. And we started off in the initial years by being licensed to make rifles by OEMs. But through the years, we then understood the market well, what the soldiers need, and then we start developing our own rifles. Let me put it this way, I think India is a strategic market. First, because India is a huge country. Two is the armed forces is very large. And by and large, the requirements from India would definitely be much more than anybody else. Take for example, I think the Ministry of Defense, the Army, is looking at equipping the Army with utility rifle, which could run into a few hundred thousands. I'm sure also there are requirements of special forces that require special kind of carbines rifle, lightweight, reliable. So that would also be further requirement. And of course, I think you're talking about even the Ministry of Home Affairs in India, where you have all these paramilitary forces. Again, they are huge. So if you look at it, in sum, really, India is a very, very large market in terms of rifles and carbines. So for us, we have been, as I said, in this business for more than 40 years. We have learned through the years what soldiers need when they operate this rifle. We learned that, performance is very important. Right? You've got to hit accurately. And today, you've got to hit accurately, hit it precisely, and when you hit it, you also have to make sure that your weapons perform reliably. Because it's nothing worse than a rifle that's, after firing a few rounds, you get a stoppage and then you have to fight again. So reliability is very important. And I guess the other one really is, as we go along, you have technology give you better material, better kind of components. You should be able to make a weapon system more friendly for use. That means easier for the user to use. So for us, as I said, first we give you a rifle that performs, right? That hits accurately, that is light, that is reliable, and that is what you call with the latest technology that you can find. I'm not sure whether you're familiar, but for example, when we started to do an advanced combat soldier with our rifle in fact can now be used to fire around corners, With the addition of electronic sights, with the additional integration of integrating it to the helmet eyepiece, you can actually fire around corners. And the other one is, for example, when a soldier climbs out of a foxhole, he doesn't know what's in front, right? So he pushes his rifle out first, and then he can see through the sight what's happening before he climbs out, and he can shoot. So I'm saying that that is the way in which we are approaching how we could then serve the armed forces at large with a capability, not just a product, not just a weapon, but a capability for him to be able to do his job much better, for him to survive much better, and for him, as I said, to be a better warfighter. So India happens to have, as I say, a large requirement, and that provides a very good base for any company who wants to come to India to be able to say, look, I would invest in R&D because the payoff is very high. All right, I would also, as I said, be able then to say, look, by doing this, I would be prepared to come to India, transfer technology, do production in India, right? Transfer manufacturing, quality kind of thing, and do in India. And in fact, to go beyond that, we could even say, why don't I do R&D in India? Set up a center for small arms or carbines and say, look, let's do the R&D here because you have the engineers, you have the IT, and all that in India that can do it much better. So that's how we look at it, India as a market, and how we think we will approach India, right? So that's how I think we will look at India that way, from carbine.
Okay, that's good to know. So, and what about finding Indian partners? Do you think that's easy? What have you had any issues? Do you think the manufacturing capability in India is that?
Of course, coming to India, the right thing to do is to find a local partner. Because first, it can help you navigate through a system. Two, it will also help you provide that kind of support you need to support the user here.
Yeah.
We have been looking, we've been talking to a lot of people,
Yes.
and I have no doubt that we can find enough partners in India. You know that already for some other programs, we already have partner like Punch Lloyd on our artillery program. We have talked to some other companies,
Yeah.
and in fact, we have also talked to OFB previously on transferring the technology of the weapon to them for them to manufacture. So we have not finalized it yet, but definitely we are looking for Indian partner, and together with the Indian partner, as I said, will help create in India the industry, the defense industry, to allow India to become, in fact, a major small arms, let's say, not only user, but a small arms, maybe exporter of arms in future. So that's what we're going to do here, right?
So on the exports issue, you know, India has very restrictive regulations. So you can't, you know, in terms of export, in terms of licensing, in terms of manufacturing. What has been your experience so far and what are the changes you might like to see in the future in terms of regulations? You know, even FDI, the offsets, all of that.
We know that today exporting arms is something that is quite regulated. I mean, United Nations, each country has its own set of requirements to control export, which I think is very good. I mean, then you will find that arms are not rampantly being pilfered or rest in the wrong arms, you know, of people using it. So I guess India has its own rules, and through the years, even, you know, from Singapore, when we export arms, we have certain export control rules. I think we have learned enough to respect these rules, learn enough to understand that when you start to do this business, you have to start thinking export control. How do I do it? You know, and that if you do it that way, then in a way you have learned naturally to overcome these things. And you do export to countries where you're allowed to export, according to the rules. And I think as long as the rules are clear, and as long as the rules does not change, you know, every now and then, and be interpreted differently, I guess companies like us, we know how to handle it, right? And we will be able to deal with export control in a very proper and legitimate way, right? And that is very important. We believe in it totally, you know, that there has to be control. You cannot just want to do something, right? So, for example, if certain parts sometimes are restricted because UC, you know, and users of it don't have it, then I think when in the design stage, what you need is to design a particular product with alternatives. You know, not just say, okay, I can only use this part, but I have alternative. If this cannot be exported because of certain thing, I have an alternative. So therefore, you still can export in the end a thing, or you can license. The other way is to license somebody else to do it in a country you want to sell to, because by licensing, then you have, in a way, removed the point of exporting a finished product, which in some cases is a problem. So you have ways and means of trying to overcome this, and I think they are quite easy to do.
So one last question. Any changes that you would like to see in Indian regulations, or any suggestions to the government? Anything?
I think the DPP, which governs procurement, is quite clear.
Yes.
Although I must say it's very elaborate and sometimes too detailed. And what we are saying is the rules are clear, and we think it's also transparent. There are a lot of transparency, but we need to find somebody to help us navigate through all these things. And perhaps if we could simplify some of these things and maybe speed up, I would say, right, some of the processes, then I think India would become a much more friendlier place for us to come and do. Otherwise, it's a matter of learning, taking up the challenge and finding a way to go through all these things. But it's doable. It's doable.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.